Buenos dias, Buenos Aires. I want to convince you that there is a man from Britain called David Cameron who can be welcomed in Argentina. I want to talk about shaping the inheritance because I've been moved by this quote from Eric Hoffer, that in time of change, the learner shall inherit the earth, while the learned will remain beautifully equipped for a world that no longer exists. But Eric Hoffer doesn't go far enough. He doesn't go as far as David Cameron and say that it's the learner who can innovate and who can create, who can shape that inheritance. I'm often struck by the number of times I talk about the correlation between birth weight and success in examinations, qualifications, and attainment. Because low birth weight is connected with poor maternal health and poverty. And that poor maternal health and poverty is still affecting these children and young people years on as they strive for success through their education. In other words, for these young people, the story of their life is written from the moment of birth and perhaps before. And it's our job, if we are educators, if we work with young people, if we are simply interested citizens, it's our job not to add value to these lives, not to edit these life stories, but to write a new narrative with these children. I have been moved by the Argentinian film Los Secretos de sus Ojos, The Secret of Their Eyes. And there's a fantastic scene in that where the main character talks to a man who has lost his wife. His wife has been murdered. And years on, the other man asks him how he copes. And he tells him that if you live your life looking backwards, if you live your life with regret, you have 1,000 pasts, but no future. And our job as educators, our job as students, our jobs as learners is to create 1,000 futures, regardless of young people's pasts or indeed their presents. What we need to do is we need to work together to create that better future, to do something different, to do something richer, to do something which can actually do more, do something that can take us closer to that ambition to create the 1,000 pasts for those young people who are not faced with a future, they are faced with a destiny. And I hope that difference is clear. We need to change destinies into futures, because our greatest debts are not financial, although our financial debts are serious. And our greatest debts are not to the past. Our greatest debts are to the future and to that inheritance which we owe to our children and young people. And at present, I don't think we're doing too well in this. We have created a world filled with problems, and it was fascinating to listen to Stefan this morning talking about how he and others are trying to find new ways to change, new ways to make things better. And that ambition that he brought, that ambition for change in new and different ways, is the same ambition that I would like to hold on to. He is someone trying to bring change now. I was at the same stage in 1968 when there were similar movements right across Europe and probably right across the world. And now I and others like me are in positions where we might influence, we might have some power, we might have some say. And we need to make sure that we bring as much energy and ambition and hope to that change as Stefan and the other people working with him in the movement are trying to bring to it today. Because the problems that we face are complex. There are huge problems across the world for young people with mental health. In the United Kingdom, We head the leagues for risk-taking behaviour, because these are young people who place no value on themselves and see no value in their future. And as a result, they take risks, not the kind of risks that Leo McLean spoke about this morning. And I apologise to you that I don't have the wonderful pictures that Leo McLean had. I don't have the Everest. I don't have the adventures. But what I offer to you is my Everest. An Everest which is not physical, but an Everest of social change, of economic change, of improvement. An Everest which, when we climb it, we look ahead to see the 1,000 futures and not back to see the 1,000 pasts. Because what we need to recognize in a world of complex problems is that improvement is not enough. It's not good enough for us. Working with young people, be it in the United Kingdom, be it in Scotland, be it in Argentina, it's not enough for us to work simply to make things better or more effective. We need to think forward. We need to think different. And I think Stefan pointed us in that direction with his presentation this morning. And one of the things we need to recognize is that all of these things, that lack of well-being, that concern for the future of our young people, that sense of complex problems in the world, and I ask you, which of the answers to the complex problems is most likely? Will they be amenable to simple solutions? I don't think so. They must be addressed through complex solutions and complex endeavors. And that means we need to give people a sense that they can create and they can shape. They can shape their lives. And one of the ways that we can do this is by giving them the opportunity to create through arts, through dance, through music, through science, through mathematics, through technology. We have to look at a way of educating our young people which gives them that opportunity to remake their world. I've been hugely impressed looking at the work that's been done in Scotland in our prisons. And the most famous example of that is a man called Jimmy Boyle, who was a feared, a destructive force in prison. He was a man who had been an enforcer. He had been a killer for major criminals. And in prison, he was a constant problem until he was offered the opportunity through the special unit in Berlin prison to create and to make art. And now he too is a new man. And that work goes on in Scottish prisons. It goes on through education. It goes on through creativity. And it goes on in ways that change behaviours. I work regularly in the city of York. Young people there demonstrate challenge. Were given the opportunity to create an exhibition. And their exhibition was nuns on skateboards. How mischievous, how witty, how creative, how different, and what a joy it was to see the things that they produced. But what they did while they produced, what they did while they created, was to demonstrate behaviors which were perfect, because they were in control of what they did. They were in control of their lives. And if we want to move forward, we need to give young people and older people that control. I was fascinated by a piece of work in Scotland where a group of vulnerable women, women who had been abused, women with drug problems, women in poverty, were enabled to change their lives because they were given cameras. And for the first time, they were able to see their world at a distance. They were able to frame their reality. They were able to take a step back and control and portray the world that they lived in. And they were taken to a special place, a special space, where they were able to be at one with nature, and more of this later in her work. But they were able to connect with nature and through that connect with themselves. The chance to create, the chance to learn to be. And that's the kind of thing that you're trying to do here, Penna, and the work that they do with the University of Aberdeen in Scotland. What they're trying to do with their work here and the work with Aberdeen University in Scotland, trying to put art at the heart of the curriculum. You will see later on today wonderful dancers, people who can express themselves, who will bring together different styles, different approaches, different music, and they will make something wonderful and beautiful. As your DJ did this morning, when she put together traditional forms, she brought young Argentinian producers into this room. She made people move, she made people smile, because she dealt with creation. And we need an education system which allows people to do that. And I'm very proud indeed that in Scotland we are attempting to do exactly this. We are introducing a curriculum called the Curriculum for Excellence. Not a curriculum defined by detail, by facts, not a curriculum which crowds out the possibility of excellent teaching and effective learning. A curriculum which is based on experiences which young people need and outcomes which they have to achieve. It's a curriculum which allows space for imagination. Imagination in the teaching, imagination in the learning. And it gives scope to bring together all aspects of life. And we've supported this in Scotland through some excellent creative developments. We've tried, through the work that we do, to make sure that we pay these debts to the future and not simply to the past. The information about Curriculum for Excellence can be found on the website, whose link is there for you now. It's a challenge for us. Some teachers show fear. They're concerned about change. They're not used to change. They don't feel comfortable without the tight support of the curriculum that they knew before. But many, many, many teachers are taking advantage to move forward. And as they do, they're reaching out and using things like the creativity portal, which is literally a door into the world of creation that we've opened in Scotland, where what we do is we allow artists to join together with educators to create a new way of learning. The project in Aberdeen is called ATLAC. It brings together arts as a driver for the curriculum, but it does much more than that. The creativity portal offers ideas, and on it, it enables us to see changes, and I'll talk about the change that's there in a minute. But we also have created Fife Earth, a 3 square mile open cast coal mine, which is being converted into a work of art, a new creation, a new mark on the landscape. And when you look at a work of art which is a mile square, that challenges the monochrome nature of your dreams, and it challenges the shallowness of your ambitions. Because what we can see there is possibility. And what we must always do is look for that possibility. We also in Scotland have our National Theatre working with schools and communities in a project called Transform, which allows people to do exactly that, to transform those things in their lives which they want to change. And again I turn to Les Secretos de sus Ojos, where at one point the main character, in trying to write his novel, keeps a pad by his bedside. And one night he writes Temo as he wakes. And later he looks at it again and he changes it to Te Amo. One step, one transformation, one movement towards engagement with the future. And what I want to do this morning, apart from convince you that a David Cameron can be welcome in your midst, what I want to do is to encourage you to have the dream. Because as Annie Nin says, and the quote is there, the dream is the beginning. But when it comes into the reality of action, from these actions stems the dream again. And this brings us to a higher way of living. We owe our young people not a destiny, we owe them a future. We owe our communities not what we currently offer them. We owe them more. These are our greatest debts. My country is a small one. It doesn't face the challenges of Argentina. It doesn't face the scale. I hope that there are lessons to be learned from the things that we attempt to do. I hope that there are things that we can talk together about, things that we can do together. I hope that with an amen, we can let our dreams meet, let our dreams translate together into action, and through that action, create a higher form of living. I love the DJ, I love the music, I also love Leonard Cohen. Who's prepared to join me in that struggle? Who's prepared to say that the future can be ours? Who's prepared to say that first we take Manhattan, then we take Berlin?